The land of red apples. There were 8 in our party of bronze children who were going east with the missionaries. Among us were 3 young braves, 2 tall girls, and we 3 little ones, Judwin, Thowin, and I. We had been very impatient to start on our journey to the red apple country, which we were told lay a little beyond the great circular horizon of the western prairie. Under a sky of rosy apples, we dreamt of roaming as freely and happily as we had chased the cloud shadows on the Dakota plains. We had anticipated much pleasure from a ride on the iron horse, but the throngs of staring palefaces disturbed and troubled us. On the train, fair women with tottering babies on each arm stopped their haste and scrutinized the children of absent mothers. Large men with heavy bundles in their hands halted nearby and riveted their glassy blue eyes upon us. I sank deep into the corner of my seat, for I resented being watched. Directly in front of me, children who were no larger than I hung themselves over the back of their seats with their bold white faces towards me. Sometimes they took their forefingers out of their mouths and pointed at my moccasined feet. Their mothers, instead of reproving such rude curiosity, looked closely at me and attracted their children's further notice to my blanket. This embarrassed me and kept me constantly on the verge of tears. I sat perfectly still with my eyes downcast, daring only now and then to shoot long glances around me. Chancing to turn to the window at my side, I was quite breathless upon seeing one familiar object. It was the telegraph pole, which strode by at short paces, very near my mother's dwelling, along the edge of a road thickly bordered with wild sunflowers. Some poles, like these, had been planted by white men. Often I had stopped on my way down the road to hold my ear against the pole, and hearing its low moaning, I used to wonder what the paleface had done to hurt it. Now I sat watching for each pole that glided by to be the last one. In this way, I had forgotten my uncomfortable surroundings. When I heard one of my comrades call out my name, I saw the missionary standing very near, tossing candies and gums into our midst. This amused all of us, and we tried to see who could catch the most. Though we rode several days inside of the iron horse, I do not recall a single thing about our luncheons. It was night when we reached the school grounds. The lights from the windows, the large buildings fell upon some icicle trees that stood beneath them. We were led towards an open door, where the brightness of the lights within flooded over the heads of the excited palefaces who blocked the way. My body trembled more from fear than from the snow I trod upon. Entering the house, I stood close against the wall. The strong, glaring light in the large, whitewashed room dazzled my eyes. The noisy hurrying of hard shoes upon a bare wooden floor increased the whirling in my ears. My only safety seemed to be keeping next to the wall. As I was wondering which direction to escape from all this confusion, 2 warm hands grasped me firmly, and in the same moment I was tossed high in the air. A rosy-cheeked, pale-faced woman caught me in her arms. I was both frightened and insulted by such trifling. I stared into her eyes, wishing her to let me stand on my own feet. But she jumped me up and down with increasing enthusiasm. My mother had never made a plaything of her wee daughter. And remembering this, I began to cry aloud. They misunderstood the cause of my tears and placed me at a white table loaded with food. There our party were united again. As I did not hush my crying, one of the older ones whispered to me, "Wait until you are alone in the night." It was very little I could swallow besides my sobs that evening. "Oh, I want my mother and my brother. I want to go to my aunt," I pleaded. But the ears of the palefaces could not hear me. From the table we were taken along an upward incline of wooden boxes, which I learned afterwards was to call a stairway. At the top was a quiet hall, dimly lighted. Many narrow beds were in one straight line down the entire length of the wall. In them lay sleeping brown faces, which peeped out of the coverings. I was tucked into bed with one of the tall girls, because she talked to me in my mother tongue and seemed to soothe me. I had arrived in the wonderful land of rosy skies, but I was not happy, as I had thought I should be. My long travel and the bewildering sights had exhausted me. I fell asleep, heavily, heaving deep, tired sobs. My tears were left to dry themselves in streaks, because neither my aunt nor my mother was near to wipe them away.